Well, I got bad news for the bears. We're in a digital gold rush and the window is closing. Tom Lee just said MicroStrategy could become the biggest company in the stock market. And he also said that the government might buy it outright to start its Bitcoin reserve. Has Saylor been preparing the U.S. strategic reserve all along? Well, Giga Chad just went full send on Fox Business. Trump's on the verge of announcing Powell's replacement, and he's dropping an executive order going after the very banks that debanked him. Game theory is here. Bitcoin is now political, financial, corporate, and strategic. So the question isn't if Bitcoin hits 1 million, it's who's going to be left holding the bag when there's no Bitcoin left. Let's start right here. Michael Saylor just dropped nukes on live television.
So Bitcoin's a long-term asset. You want to hold it for 21 years. It's been returning about 50% plus a year. It's very volatile. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people that want 2x Bitcoin. They don't want the Bitcoin return. They want 100% return. So MicroStrategy, the equity, or strategy, the equity, is amplified Bitcoin. We actually aim to generate 2x the Bitcoin return and 2x the volatility. And the way we do it is by issuing credit instruments. So believe it or not, there's someone that would like to get double the money market return or double the yield in their bank account. So if we give them 9%, we've doubled their bank account. We've kind of beat the SOFR rate by 5%. But, Bitcoin's returning 55%. So if I take the 5% boost and I give it in a short duration treasury instrument to credit investors, the other 45...
Saylor didn't flinch. He doubled down. Then he hit back at the financial media, calling Bitcoin treasuries a Ponzi scheme.
Of course, speaking of the financial media, I saw one piece that said it's a fad, another piece that wonders if it's a Ponzi scheme. What do you say? And is it a problem for you that everyone's sort of trying to mimic what you're doing right now with a scarce resource?
100 years ago, people disparaged companies that wanted to use electricity or gasoline in their business. They thought that was faddish. Again, they just don't understand it. This is digital capital. So if you're using traditional treasuries as capital, you're underperforming the S&P by 10% a year, so you're burning money on your treasury. If you're using Bitcoin, you're outperforming the S&P by something like 40% a year. So the more capital you raise, the more capital you hold, the faster you create shareholder value. It's not a problem all those companies are adopting the Bitcoin standard. It's just like companies deciding to put internal combustion engines in their machines or use electricity or the internet or computer semiconductors. It's going to become the rule over time, because why would you want your company to burn 10% of its capital every year when it could double or triple its capital every year?
If you're using treasuries as capital, you're trailing the S&P by 10% a year. With Bitcoin, you're outperforming it by 40%. That's why Michigan's pension fund just tripled its Bitcoin ETF exposure. Saylor is making the corporate Bitcoin strategy not just normal, but profitable and, well, inevitable. And then we got this from Tom Lee, quote, Bitcoin should be over 1 million over time. And Lee claims that the 4-year cycle is ending as Bitcoin is replacing gold right now.
The simplest way to think about Bitcoin is that it's gaining traction as replacement for gold. I think that if someone wanted to understand the use case for Bitcoin, and there's many, but they're not too, they don't have a lot of conviction around something, to me, I could say easily it should supplant gold. And so I think Bitcoin should be, over 1 million over time. And then I kind of prescribing to the view that there's probably a chance that maybe the 4-year cycle is ending for Bitcoin because of the way institutional adoption of that thesis is taking place. And so you have institutional and essentially permanent holders of Bitcoin coming in. So it should be good. So I think Bitcoin should really build upon this 120 before the end of the year. So, 200,000, maybe 250.
You think the government might just buy MicroStrategy at a huge premium instead of buying Bitcoin on the open market?
I think I heard you on a show being asked about how the United States might acquire Bitcoin and going out into the market. That would definitely move the price. So didn't you say something about the possibility that the government would actually instead try to let's say, buy a company that has a lot of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that makes a lot of sense. I think the day the U.S. says they want to acquire 1 million Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin's price is going to go up parabolically.
Right.
Because how is the U.S. going to buy it? I mean, they can't, if you know their wallet, you're going to see every buy, and it's going to become a national pastime for everybody because they're a long buyer. I think it's going to be easier for them to buy large holders of Bitcoin. Maybe even give tax amnesty, right? That's why they're saying it's tax-free. We won't tax capital gains. They'll do everything they can to try to acquire Bitcoin. Maybe, but MicroStrategy has a sovereign put. They have 600,000 Bitcoin. That's the easiest way to get to 1 million Bitcoin.
Well, so how would that work, though? I mean, for people watching that think, like, property rights, hello, I mean, those are enshrined in our Constitution. Would a company have to sell to the government as long as they're willing to pay fair market? I mean, like, could they essentially nationalize a company? I mean, how does it work logistically?
Well, the U.S. has a history of acquiring and paying for strategically important things.
They just did so with the rare earths. I mean, the Pentagon deal with MP, I feel like it's not nationalizing it, but it's a strategic move.
Yeah, I think the U.S. government takes a private sector approach to that. So if MicroStrategy is at 400 and the clearing price to do that deal is 3,000 or something, it's probably cheaper to do that than to try to buy 1 million Bitcoin.
What do you think Michael Saylor's reaction to that would be?
I'm not Michael Saylor, but I know that his personal holdings of Bitcoin he'll never sell, right? And he'll let them essentially become, he'll help permanently help Bitcoin's legacy because he'll just let the keys expire with him. But for MicroStrategy shareholders, he might have a different view because at the end of the day, he'll probably weigh where he can get MicroStrategy versus someone making a hostile takeover bid. I mean, it's just hypothetical. So,
I mean, is this like your base case? Do you think that the government will acquire Bitcoin by just acquiring one of these companies?
If I had to war game that, there's 600,000 Bitcoin in MicroStrategy.
Yeah, on the way to more. Gosh, that's so fascinating. I have so many questions.
That's not crazy. It's plausible. And 60% of Strategy's stack came after Trump's election. Regulatory clarity equals corporate FOMO equals institutional scramble.
There has been so much fundamentally positive news, and it's just been buried sort of in the background. We've caused ourselves to ignore it. There's the strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's the SEC pulling back on essentially every lawsuit. There's progress on stablecoin legislation. There's talk of market structure legislation. There was the White House crypto summit. These are game-changing positive developments that should put Bitcoin trading at $150,000 or $200,000 today. It's been suppressed because in the short term, this overhang of the economic uncertainty is weighing on the markets. I think if that is released, we're at new all-time highs quickly, and we're on our way to where I think we'll be at the end of the year, which is Bitcoin 200,000. So I think there's been this sort of suppression of really good news. If that suppression is removed, I think it's a coiled spring. So in that scenario, I think we do exceptionally well.
Is there anything else that needs to happen to get us to Bitcoin at 200K by the end of the year?
I don't think so. You have these three horsemen of insatiable demand for Bitcoin. You have the ETFs, which I continue to think will have strong net flows this year. You have companies. We saw MicroStrategy buying more Bitcoin. I think the number of companies buying Bitcoin is going to triple this year. I think the game theory is on. It's slower than people maybe want in this impatient crypto world, but I think countries around the world are going to be buying Bitcoin. So there's structurally more demand than supply in Bitcoin. I think all we need is to release this sort of economic gloom that's hanging over us. If we do that, I think it's straight to the races.
And the legend, Adam Back, possibly Satoshi, says we got a long way to go. 200 trillion is coming.
Bitcoin is more of a gold competitor, so it has an investment component, and of course the adoption story as it gains use is what's driving it. I think eventually it will reach, full adoption. We don't know where that will be.
What does that look like?
What does full adoption look like? So I think one target is gold, and gold values are quite high at the moment because of the macro hedge phenomena where governments will buy gold in times of uncertainty. And so, but even there, with the current Bitcoin price level, it's within about a factor of 9 of reaching the gold market cap. And then the larger addressable market for monetary premiums in different assets, like housing, there's a lot of monetary premium there where people will buy an apartment and not use it, not even rent it out, just as an investment vehicle, right? So you see a lot of underused housing premium in the housing sector in different countries, and obviously premium in shares in the stock markets and bonds and other forms of alternative assets. And so, how Finney actually estimated that to be 200 trillion. And surprisingly, he did this in I think 10th of January 2009, before there were any transactions and any market value. So it's quite a kind of forward-looking estimate, but it seems to be still, considered a reasonable estimate of the size of that addressable market. Now, we don't know, how much of that Bitcoin will capture. So there's a bit of conjecture there, but it seems logical that, if the institutional adoption continues and the retail interest continues, that Bitcoin could get there.
Do you remember who wins the first country to print money to buy Bitcoin and strikes Jack Mallers says the U.S. is on the verge right now?
I think the next big step would be if a government that has the ability to print and debase and uses a central bank to manipulate and control and influence the time, energy, effort, and labor of the populace and of society, if a government that has that power is able to buy Bitcoin and acknowledge it, not even the legal tender part, just acknowledge it, own it, and validate it, that would be a huge deal. And I actually think the United States of America is probably in the best position to do that, and where I think they're the most likely candidate because they have the world reserve currency. Like the US is we're broke, we just issued debt. We're, being the world reserve currency implies that we run these massive deficits and we issue all of this debt, right? And so we are the most incentivized to actually start backing our future promises with something real. So I told, my chief of staff is somewhere in the audience. I told him, after El Salvador, people would ask me, what's the next? Is it, Guatemala, Argentina? Everyone was looking on a map, looking through Latin America. I said, it might be the United States. Bitcoin's very American. And the United States, in theory, is technology, innovation, inclusion, equality. Every node on the network is treated equal. You can come and go as you please. So maybe I'm manifesting a little bit. Maybe this is less of a prediction, more of a hope. But I think that would be a really big deal. And as big of a deal as El Salvador was, the next step would be a government that actually can print their money and debase the populace through money printing. If they were to say, this Bitcoin thing's legit and we should have some, I think that'd be massive.
Folks, we may not be that early anymore, but we're right on time. We're about to bring it home today, as the Orange Man has gone after the banks. But before we do, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe. I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
If you're still holding your Bitcoin on an exchange, you're doing it wrong. Go to thebitcoinway.com and learn how to self-custody your Bitcoin like a sovereign individual. They'll walk you through multi-sig, privacy, and even help you move your coins off those clown platforms. No tech skills required. The team over at the Bitcoin Way has got you covered. They'll coach you up on your Bitcoin journey from start to finish. Do not get caught holding IOUs when this thing hits 500K. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the Bitcoin Way using that link in the show notes. And once you've secured your Bitcoin, here's how to make it work for you without selling a single sat. Life can come at you fast, and if you ever need to tap into your Bitcoin's value without selling it, boom, you're holding pristine collateral. That's where Ledn comes in. Ledn has funded over $10 billion in Bitcoin-backed loans since 2018. No monthly payments, no penalties, just pure flexibility. You control your loan, you control your Bitcoin. Collateral is never lent out to generate interest, and every 6 months, proof of reserves. It's simple. If you need cash but don't want to sell your precious corn, Ledn has your back. Check out Ledn Bitcoin-backed loans done right. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply, and Simply Bitcoin clients will get 25 basis points off their first loan. Go time! And right when you thought the clown show couldn't get crazier, Trump just declared war on the banks.
On a different topic, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that you're prepping an order that they say would punish banks that discriminate against conservatives, including potentially Bank of America. I'm going to be actually talking to Brian Moynihan here later today. Can you tell us about that executive order? What's in that? And what do you think the banks have done?
Well, they did discriminate. I had J.P. Morgan Chase. I had hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. I could see if they want to, if they want to do something bad because you don't have any money and you're defaulted and they took people out. But I'll give you me as an example. I had hundreds of millions. I had many, many accounts loaded up with cash. I was loaded up with cash. And they told me, I'm sorry, sir, we can't have you. You have 20 days to get out. I said, you got to be kidding. I've been with you for 35, 40 years. They said, and I mean, I had all this. I didn't know what to do with it. And I went to, and you could ask him. Maybe he's not going to admit it. So I said, I was informed by my people that we have to get out of Chase Manhattan. That's Jamie and J.P. Morgan Chase. So I said, I can't believe it. Well, I was never in this situation before. I've never had anything like it. And it's not like, gee, you defaulted on a loan. Geez, if I could understand that, that's different. But there's no default. I mean, there's nothing but cash. I have a really great company. And then what happens is I call up Bank of America routinely because when I was president, this was after I got out, by the way, I call up Bank of America routinely. And I speak to him and I speak to a couple of people, and they have zero interest. Brian was kissing my ass when I was president, and when I called him after I was president to deposit $1 billion plus and a lot of other things, more importantly to open accounts, which banks always like. They like accounts because they get interest-free, the overnights and things, a lot of reasons for it, but they like accounts. I had hundreds of accounts, and he said, we can't do it. No, we can't do it. So I went to another one. I ended up going to small banks all over the place. I mean, I was putting 10 million here, 10 million there, did 5 million, 10 million, 12 million. I have them all over the place, the craziest thing. And it's lucky I even had them. They were doing me a favor. And that's because the banks discriminated against me very badly. And I was very good to the banks. I had the greatest economy in the history of our country when I was president. And by the way, our economy now will blow that away, and you see it happening. But our economy now, because we're a rich country again, because of our trade deals, we've become a rich country again. But no, they totally discriminate against, I think me maybe even more, but they discriminate against many conservatives. I told that story and sitting around tables with other people that were conservative or Trump supporters. I think the word might be Trump supporters more than conservative. And I believe what they did is they went to the regulators. Banks are not afraid of anything but a regulator. They're regulators and their wives. They're more afraid of their wives than the regulators. But the group they're really afraid of is bank regulators. And I believe that Biden or Kamala, and I don't think they're smart enough to do it, but the people that are surrounding the beautiful Resolute desk, the high IQ people that are radical left, I believe they told the banking commission, the bankers, that the banking regulators, do everything you can to destroy Trump. And that's what they did. And guess what? I'm president. How did that happen?
They froze him out. Tens of millions. He tried to deposit $1 billion. Bank of America said, no, we can't do it. Guess what? He's now writing an executive order banning banks from denying services to Bitcoin companies. Operation Choke Point is over. And in his interview, Trump said he's replacing Jerome Powell, and soon, and he's got 4 names on the list. He even confirmed that Scott Bessent turned it down.
Jay Powell is highly political, and I think, I call him too late. Jerome, too late. Powell, he's too late. He's too late always. He always has been, except when he came to lowering interest rates before the election, that he did. He worked that out.
Who would you replace him with? I know you watch the show occasionally, and we had an extended interview with one of the prospective replacements, Kevin Warsh. Were you watching that day, or
I was. He's very good. He's very good. He's very good. Sometimes they're all very good until you put them in there, and then they don't do so good. But a lot of them, I think he's a very good guy. I think I say Kevin and Kevin. Both Kevins are very good, and there are other people that are very good too. But
Kevin's
a lot
like
of times,
Karens. I don't know if that's good.
A lot of times they're very good. Like this character that we have in there now, Jerome Too Late Powell. He was very good. He said, "Sir, I'll keep interest rates so low. I'm a low interest rate person, sir." You could hardly hear him talking over the desk.
Is Warsh
somebody that worked for him? He was a big fan of his. Not a fan of his. He hardly knew him, but he wanted him so badly. I did somebody a favor. I put him in there. No, he's too late. He's too late. That name will stick to him.
Can you handicap it at all? Who you're, or you won't know? When will you know? And when will you announce it?
I think the two Kevins are doing well, and I have two other people that are doing well. Look, it's in the end, there are numerous people that are qualified. Everyone on your phone right now, in terms of at your beautiful studio, would be very qualified, in my opinion. You guys are better than most of the people that do it for a living. But I watched a lot, actually. No, I think that it'll be one of four people.
Are the other
two names? They're going to make the decision soon. And don't forget, we have somebody that left early, which was a pleasant surprise. We have a woman that left early. She announced 2 days ago that she's leaving, and I'm going to be announcing that very shortly, too. That will be, most likely it'll be for the 4 months, for the short period of time. But a lot of people say that when you do that, why don't you just pick the person who's going to head up the Fed? That's a possibility, too.
President Trump, you said there are four names. There are two other names that have been mentioned in the press. One is Governor Waller. The other is the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Are those the four that you're considering?
Well, I love Scott, but he wants to stay where he is. I'll take him off because I asked him just last night, is this something you want? Nope, I want to stay where I am. He actually said, I want to work with you. It's such an honor. I said, that's very nice. I appreciate that. But no, Scott wants to do what he's doing. He's doing a great job, and he wants to do what he's doing. So I just take him off. He does not want it. He likes being Treasury Secretary. He's doing a really good job. We made the greatest trade deals in the history of our country. We had to because we were being ripped off by the world. It's not like we had a choice.
The barriers are falling fast. CFTC now allowing spot Bitcoin buying directly on futures. And in Brazil, first ever strategic Bitcoin reserve hearing is August 20th. Binance founder CZ says countries will print money to buy Bitcoin. You heard Jack Mallers say the same. And now Tom Lee is floating a MicroStrategy buyout, and Trump is going full laser eyes. Let's close it out strong because this next decade, it's the digital land grab of our lifetime. Every crash was a lifetime buying opportunity. Every correction was called a crash. Zoom out, DCA, and don't stop stacking. And if you needed more motivation, dead. Bitcoin has now died 431 times. If you bought $100 each time, you'd be sitting on 120 million right now. Saylor says $1 million is the floor. Tom Lee says the government's coming. Trump says Operation Choke Point is over. And the CFTC says spot Bitcoin is a go. You've got 10 years before all the Bitcoin is gone. Before the institutions own it. Before every government FOMO's in. Before digital gold just becomes gold. Speaking of digital gold rush, join us at Mining Disrupt 2025. It's only months away. The biggest Bitcoin mining conference and expo in the world. They're heading to Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th. Meet the legends building the hash power revolution from sovereign mining to AI plus Bitcoin integration. This is where the next wave of Bitcoin history is being written. Grab those tickets today. Come see the Simply Bitcoin team on the news desk. And don't forget to use promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing the Sound Money Gospel. Set those notifications for the best in Bitcoin news delivered to you daily because we got tons of content coming your way. Stay tuned. Love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.